what's up guys? My name is Gracie, aka Marvelous Books, and today we are going to do my March and April reading wrap-up. Words are really hard for me apparently. So let's get started. The first book I've read in March was The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson, which was the final book in the Truly Devious trilogy. I really loved the previous two books as well, and I actually gave the third book 4.75 stars, so as you can tell, I really enjoyed it. In my opinion, it was like the perfect kind of YA mystery, had the perfect amount of like gore, if you can say that, and thriller type things, and scary stuff, I guess, for a YA mystery novel. And I thought it was done really well. I really enjoyed how it was all wrapped up, and just like the final conclusion and finding out what happened, I really thought was done super well. So yeah, definitely really enjoyed that trilogy and highly recommend it. Next, I read an arc of Summer Spirit by Elizabeth Hollivill. I'm sorry. I only give this book 3.5 stars. This book comes out on July 7th of 2020. It is a YA graphic novel about a girl who lives with her grandma for the summer, and her cousins and her sister, and makes friends with the ghost of her grandmother's sister who passed when she was a teenager. I thought this book was very cliche in terms of like ghost stories, especially like ghost graphic novels. Ghost graphic novels are like my favorite thing ever, but I feel like they also need to do something different, you know, than each other. I just really thought that it was very predictable and not the best writing. It is translated from French, so that could have been a part of it. Like sometimes the translation doesn't quite have the same type of writing style that the author originally wanted in its original language, but I would give it a try if you are not like always, or are not someone who's read a lot of like supernatural kind of graphic novels, because I don't think you would like see everything coming necessarily. But if you really enjoy like Anya's Ghost and Ghost Friends Forever, just things like that, I would maybe find something else. Next, I read The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I mostly listened to this on audiobook and I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I was a little bit disappointed by it because everyone absolutely loves it and gives it like full 5 stars. I'm not exactly sure what it was that didn't just like connect with me as much as everybody else. But there are a lot of like trigger warnings for this book, so I would definitely look them up. Just follows a girl who is really struggling with her religion and her sexuality as a teenager, and just family life in general, and really being compared to her twin, her goody-goody twin. So I don't know, I just didn't quite connect with it, I think, as most people do, but I still really recommend it. I think a lot of people will love it. It is written in verse, so if that is something you enjoy, definitely check out this book. The last book I read in March was I Darken by Kiersten White. I give this 4.25 stars. I will definitely be continuing on in the trilogy. If you don't know what this is, it's a Vlad the Impaler retelling, but gender bent. I really liked the kind of like the retelling of the story. I don't know a whole lot about Vlad the Impaler. I know some, but I thought it was really interesting to get that kind of the young life, gender bent, and obviously fictionalized, told in a story. I thought the writing was really nice. I really had an issue with the characters. I think their interactions were a little bit off for me for some reason, and there was some like weird insta-lovey type stuff that I just wasn't a huge fan of, but I do recommend it if you're into like historical fiction that has a fantasy appeal in just terms of like world building and kind of action. Moving on to April, the first book I read was Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare, which I gave 4.5 stars. I read this for school. A good chunk of it at school and with like my peers, and we read it out loud and we each had different characters. I was Mark Antony, in case you wanted to know. But then school was changed to online, so I read the last 2 scenes by myself. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of my favorite Shakespeares I've read so far. I have read Romeo and Juliet and Midsummer Night's Dream and then Julius Caesar. So you can see I own several right here that I will eventually get to. I think I liked the historical appeal a lot in this drama because I am really obsessed with like learning history and stuff. And I just thought it was really well done, and I loved kind of like the realness Shakespeare brought to these characters, because sometimes when you look back on history and historical events, you don't necessarily see the people as being real people since it happened so long ago, and I think he brought that element to this this drama that made it really fun for me. Then for class again, I read Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, which is another drama. I only gave it 3.25 stars. I just wasn't a huge fan of the writing, and I thought that the storyline could have been developed a lot better, but I did enjoy the characters a lot. This is a play about a family in the 60s who has inherited, I think, $10,000 from their recently passed father, and kind of like what they plan to do with it, and these characters are very interesting and very well done, but I don't know, I just wanted something more from it. Then I read Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, which is my favorite book of 2020 so far. It was my first full 5-star novel of the year. I really, really enjoyed it. This is a novel about 2 very different families, and their children are very good friends, and kind of the difference in socioeconomic status, and you learn more about both of the women, the moms' pasts a lot, and there is a custody battle going on for a child, and these women are both on different sides of what they think should happen, who should have this custody, and I think it is so beautiful. I listened partially to the audiobook and partially read it physically, and I think it is a book that like everyone should read because it was so beautiful and well done, and I just was really emotional from it, which does not happen to me with realistic fiction adult literary novels very often. Then I reread for the, I believe, 4th time, Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Jomny Sun. I've talked about this book like I don't know how many times on this channel, but if you're new here or if you haven't seen any of these videos, it is amazing. One of my favorite books of all time. Everybody has to read it. It is literally for everyone. Like, read it to your children, read it as an adult, read it as a teenager, as like in middle school, I don't know, like if you think that your child is old enough to read this book or to read this book with them, it does have some like talk about death and stuff. I would definitely read this to your child. I think it just has so many life lessons and morals in it that I think a lot of people could get a lot from, and it's just really uplifting novel that just gives you all the emotions in a very short amount of time with just the most adorable pictures. Literally, can you tell how like passionate I am about this book? The very last book I read in April was Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor, which I give 4.75 stars, so almost 5, just not quite. This is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer, which is a duology about the lost city of Weep, and Laszlo Strange gets to go there, and there are some like creatures, gods and God's children. It's really hard to explain the premise of even the first book and the duology at all, but I highly recommend these books. I'm not a huge fantasy person, but I absolutely adore these books. They give me more of a magical realism vibes, with just leaning more towards fantasy than my favorite magical realism usually does. But the writing is beautiful. Laini Taylor has a talent that I cannot replicate. I don't know if anybody can exactly. The characters are so well done. I love like the romance, just the characters' relationships with each other, whether platonic or familial or romantic, are just really amazing and really believable. And I am still thinking about this book and kind of wanting more to the story, but also being satisfied with the ending, which is I think something that you should strive for in a series. Like, you should be satisfied but also wanting more of the characters because you love them so much. So yeah, I definitely recommend Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares if you have not already read it. So those are the 9 books I read over March and April. Excuse me for not making a separate video for March and one for April, but I didn't read that much and I thought that the video would be too short. And I also wasn't super in the mood for filming at the end of March due to what is happening in the world right now. It's just really down and wasn't into it, so I hope you'll forgive me. But I do kind of enjoy doing the 2-month squish together wrap-ups, especially when I don't read as much as I used to last year, which I could have read 9 books in 1 month last year, so it's a bit of a different story now. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment because it means so much to me. Bye!